Oh my goodness. Thank you. So welcome tonight to Mike Ferner, Interim Director of Veterans for Peace. It's just a pleasure to welcome Mike back. He can tell you his military history, but he currently is working with us on the board at Veterans for Peace. He liked us so much that he couldn't stay away any longer. And it's a pleasure to have Mike back. We have been doing a lot of work, and I think it's exciting to see the organization moving again. So welcome, Mike Ferner.
Thanks very much, Susan. Basically, I came back to this interim position because my memory is shot and I don't remember what a pain in the ass it was 11 years ago. It's really amazing. I'm just sitting here listening to people introduce themselves, the incredible experiences and over years and years that so many of you have had. It's just really impressive. Yeah, I'm doing the interim director thing right now. I've sent out a couple. There's another statement for me on the VFP finances. It just went out today, so if you haven't seen that, check it out. And I was a hospital corpsman, 69 to 73. I wanted to be a CEO, but the draft board said, "You're not a Mennonite or a Quaker, get out of here." So I enlisted as a corpsman and worked at the Great Lakes Navy Hospital, and I finally got out as a CEO after being in for 3 years. So that's my background.
Thank you. I guess I thought folks might have questions of you for just a few minutes.
You didn't tell me that when you asked me to come on.
I didn't. I said you'd only be on for a couple of minutes, but I figured you're on, and that was such a short introduction and speaking piece. And quickly, does anybody have any questions for Mike? And we'll get on to the regular program.
Well, he is in the corner of the screen, so let's corner him.
No questions?
Well, I have something to say.
Of course.
Yeah, that's a surprise.
No, I want to tell people that Mike has agreed to come to Brooklyn for the fundraiser for the GI Coffee House on April 30th at Sunday at 3 p.m. So if you want to see Mike Ferner actually in person, you'll get an autograph or something like that. Maybe he'll shake your hand. We can take pictures of you and Mike together. You know, just be there and tell your friends to come also. Mike, thanks for coming. Or tell you when you do, we'll come.
Thank you.
And the woman at the Brooklyn Coffee House was totally excited that Mike Ferner, the interim director, was coming. I want to tell you that.
Tarek, you didn't tell him that photographs are free, but autographs require a $25 donation to VFP. So
let's see how much we get. I like that. Helen Barfield, go ahead.
I just want to ask, how goes saving the lake?
Well, the lake keeps getting a little worse every few months when another factory farm gets added in our watershed, but we have a wonderful group of mostly retirees who kick ass. I mean, these people call them up 8 o'clock at night and say, "We got to get out on a picket line tomorrow at 10 in the morning," and 30 people show up. So it's a fun group to work with. Our coordinating committee meetings, everybody has to drink at least one bottle of wine. So they're a lot of fun.
Tell folks what lake, because I know, but probably not everybody does.
Lake Havasu City. No, Lake Erie.
Thank you.
Our Vice President and Jill Godmillo are here. Perhaps they can introduce themselves.
Welcome, Jill. Do you have any questions for Mike Ferner? Anybody else, any questions? I mean, otherwise, it is what I promised, only a couple of minutes. Okay, maybe we'll have an appearance again next month, but thank you, Mike, for coming to the meeting.
Great video at the beginning too. It was wonderful.
Thank you. We're thinking of having it for the national board meetings too.
Cool.
Thank you. I think we'll get to the regular part of the program. I'm looking at my notes, introducing Helen Jaccard. Helen, welcome, who has been working for how many years, Helen, on the Golden Rule? Incredibly successful project. It's exciting, dynamic, and I think getting more and more successful every year. Helen is the general manager and associate member of Veterans for Peace. It's wonderful to welcome you here tonight. And I'll also welcome at the same time, Gerry Condon, you're chair of the committee for the Golden Rule. And I'll just say again, my goodness, I feel like I've known so many people who are here tonight for many, many, many years. I think I met Gerry when he just first came back to the States from Sweden. And we've been working together in various capacities and with organizations since then. So Gerry and Helen, welcome to the New York City VIP chapter tonight. And we really look forward to hearing your presentation. I think we're all very excited about the project and supporting it.
And I've made you co-hosts in case you have any visuals you'd like to share.
Thank you.
Which we do, thank you.
Would you like me to go ahead and do that, Gerry?
Yeah, so go ahead. So I'll just say hi, everybody. It's great to see you all. Can you hear me all right?
Mhm.
Good. Well, this Golden Rule has been sailing again with a mission of abolishing nuclear weapons in war for almost 8 years. It'll be 8 years in June 5th, come June, when we splashed down in Humboldt Bay and began this epic voyage. And as most of you know, we're now sailing around what's called the Great Loop, which is on the bucket list of many boaters and sailors. We began our voyage in Minneapolis at the insistence of Minneapolis Veterans for Peace. And we've came down, we trucked the boat from San Francisco Bay to Hudson, Wisconsin, near Minneapolis. We had a bunch of wonderful events in Minneapolis and several other Minnesota towns. We sailed down the Mississippi, having events all along the way, including an amazing event in Dubuque, Iowa, with the Marshall Islands community that lives there. We celebrated with them for a couple of days, and it was awesome. We've had a lot of awesome experiences and events. When we got down to St. Louis, just below St. Louis, we had to abandon the Mississippi River because it was getting too shallow and therefore too narrow, and we didn't want to risk the danger of meeting up with all these big barges that are coming down the river. So we ducked into the Ohio River, which is the typical way that people actually usually make the Great Loop. The Ohio River, the Tennessee River, the Tombigbee River, down to Mobile, Alabama. And we were looking at our schedule coming up in Florida, and we said, Jesus Christ, we're going to be in Key West on December 30th. And, you know, what's close to Key West, just 90 miles away, Havana, Cuba. And, you know, in 1962, the world almost had a nuclear war because of the so-called Cuban Missile Crisis, which was spurred by U.S. hostility towards the Cuban Revolution and various attempts to overthrow that revolution. And so that's what led to a nuclear war. And that hostile U.S. policy, unfortunately, is still maintained today towards Cuba. So we decided it was totally appropriate for the Golden Rule to sail to Cuba. And we had quick meetings where, you know, we have basically two boards that we're responsible to for everything we do pretty much. We have the Golden Rule Committee, which is includes VFP members and others who've been involved with the project from the beginning. And we have the board of directors of Veterans for Peace. Well, we got in touch with both of those groups, and it was not a hard sell at all. We were really impressed how, especially with the VFP board, people were excited about it, including the number of the younger veterans on the board. And about 5 different board members wanted to actually go and were thinking seriously about traveling to Cuba with us. And well, one eventually did, and that's, you see him on the screen there. That's Enya Anderson. Are you looking at the same thing I'm seeing here? The photo with Enya coming. That's just on our way into the Hemingway Marina in Havana, Cuba. And so we had 5 of us sail on the boat down, and 6 came back. We also had another half dozen or so people fly in to join us, including your own Anthony Donovan. We had an incredible experience while we were in Cuba. As always, Cuba's an amazing place to visit. And we actually arrived there on New Year's Eve day. And there was celebrations going on. There was free concerts and dances in the streets down by the Malecon every night for like the whole time we were there. We were there 10 days. The party never stopped. But we went down there with our arrangements were made by a group called Proximity Cuba that works with Code Pink and others to organize good progressive solidarity experiences in Cuba. This one we kind of piggybacked onto a program that was already in the works before we signed up. It was about Cuban culture and art. And so a lot of our visits were culturally oriented, with Afro-Cuban drumming, dance, theater, and song, and wonderful music, and a lot of incredible experiences. I mean, what could be better than Cuban culture? Not much. So we were very happy with that. But we also had some more official visits. We had a press conference that was arranged by ECAP, which is the NGO, which is close to the government, and it's basically their international solidarity organization. And they set up a press conference for us, and it was very well attended. And in fact, we even had ABC there, and I think the Associated Press,
Telesur,
all the Cuban media, a lot of the Latin American media. And not only were we on the TV news that night, but we were the top of the news, so it's a different experience being in Cuba. And we had made it clear that we wanted to visit Pinar del Rio, the province to the west of Havana, which was hardest hit by the hurricane in the fall. What month was it? Maybe September, October. They got hit really hard. 10,000 homes were destroyed. And so we wanted to go there to express our solidarity, and we did bring some humanitarian aid with us. When we so the folks in Pinar del Rio, when they saw us on TV a couple of nights before, so they decided to roll out the red carpet. And when we arrived there, all the provincial officials were lined up to greet us. And we walked into the conference room where we were going to meet. And there's a screen with a big picture of the Golden Rule up there. And so we heard, how they were affected by the hurricane, how the U.S. embargo, the blockade, is making it harder for them to rebuild. And then we were shown how they are rebuilding some very simple but very ample homes for people who lost their homes. We brought medicines and a few $1,000s in cash to hand over, and we kind of apologized for not bringing more aid, but we made the comment that our boat's kind of small, and the official there said, well, your boat is very small, but it's full of love. Anyway, it was a real love fest, and it was a great experience. Well, I would say that, and then we sailed back 10 days later. We sailed over 2 nights to Miami. We had smooth sailing both directions, no real problems, which was great. But we came back with a kind of a commitment. One thing I would say, the Cuban people are very positive, very hopeful, very joyous, very muy amable, very friendly folks. But there's no doubt, and if you look closely, you see that people are really struggling right now. They've been hurt by the hurricane. They've been hurt by the embargo and by the financial troubles worldwide right now. Instead of letting up on the embargo, easing up on the embargo in recent years, the U.S. has just doubled down on it and made things even more difficult for people. So they really are in a difficult moment in their revolution, and they really need our support desperately. And when we had private conversations with Cuban friends, they asked us whatever we can do. So I think, and I said, well, we're going to carry this message with the Golden Rule now. It's going to be part of our messaging, just like we talk about Hawaii and how the U.S. military bases are causing great harm to the environment in Hawaii and the native Hawaiian culture. We now talk about how the Cuban, how the U.S. embargo, the mean-spirited U.S. embargo against Cuba must end after 60 some years. And it almost did bring us into a world war. And in some senses, we have the reverse situation today with the war in Ukraine, which is largely caused by the stationing of U.S. nuclear weapons systems close to the borders of Russia. And now we see Russia's response. We have another war. We have a war which could actually lead to a nuclear war. So there's some important parallels to be made there. Okay, so we're back in the U.S. now. We've been back for several months. We've been working our way up the East Coast. Had many incredible events. A lot of even in small towns in Florida and South Carolina and North Carolina, we have African-American high school students coming out to visit the boat. We have mayors, including African-American mayors and city council people.
Women mayors.
And women mayors.
Mayors for Peace who were anti-nuclear.
Right. Coming out to visit the boat. We had incredible experience in working together with the people who've been protesting against the Trident submarine base at Kings Bay, Georgia, and on and on. We've been recently in Washington, D.C., and it was, it's always good to be there in Washington, D.C. There's a lot of things going on there. We were invited, for example, to participate in the rally outside the Justice Department to free Julian Assange. And I spoke there on behalf of Veterans for Peace. We have, and we're going to be, of course, we're coming, where are we right now, Helen?
We're in Point Lookout, which is
Maryland.
It's where the Potomac River meets Chesapeake Bay.
Right.
And so next we'll be heading to Annapolis, then Baltimore, Havre de Grace, and then take the C&D Canal over to Philadelphia.
Yeah, but we're staying close enough to DC that we're going to be able to go back there. The Association for Nuclear.
It's the Alliance for Nuclear Accountability.
Yeah.
Is an organization composed of groups that are watchdogs at both nuclear power plants and nuclear weapons production facilities. And they advocate for closing all of it. But they are scientists that keep a close eye on what the government says they're going to do and what they actually do and what these companies are doing. So it's a very important work, lots of people involved. They're coming to Washington, D.C. for their annual D.C. days to do lobbying for a week. And they want to give us an award
At their awards dinner.
at their awards dinner. So we're going to just drive over and attend that while they're in town. But also, so that's on the 25th of April, but on the 22nd, a lot of people are arriving for DC days, and they're going to come from DC over to where we are, getting close to Annapolis, to come see the Golden Rule and talk with us for a while. So I'm really happy that even though we're not going to be in DC the same time they are, we get a couple of chances to interact with these wonderful people.
Right. And I'm going to say about that. Oh, so, you know, our main focus is on nuclear weapons, and getting rid of nuclear weapons and educating people about the growing danger of nuclear war. But, you know, we've always had the intention of being very intersectional, and we do that wherever we can, as with Cuba, for example. But also, and this isn't a very big stretch, we sometimes have the opportunity to address militarization and how it affects the climate crisis. And as a matter of fact, the last couple of days, we've spent a lot of time with Pat Elder. And we've been sailing the boat past several locations where there's a great amount of nuclear and other poisoning of the environment. You want to say more about that?
Right. So Pat's an expert in PFAs, perfluoro alkalis, that are the forever chemicals that we've been talking about. EPA standards are 0.03 parts per trillion. And we're experiencing in the Potomac River millions of times higher than that in the water, and it bioaccumulates in the fish. So people won't be able to eat the fish and the crabs and oysters that grow here without endangering their lives from cancers that are caused by these things. They cause a lot of other problems as well, and you just can't get rid of it once it exists. This is often caused by firefighting foam and other. It's so ubiquitous in our environment. So we've been talking about those contamination areas as we sail by. So we've started a whole YouTube channel that includes everything that the Golden Rule's been doing. And we have some exciting episodes coming up that'll go on our website and Facebook page. But there's also some depleted uranium that's just been blasted into the Potomac River. I guess they use the Potomac River as a firing range. So, you know, they just like lob a bunch of weapons into it, and whatever decays, they don't give a rip. So it's very upsetting to the Piscataway Nation in particular.
So yeah, we've amplified our self-media work by bringing a wonderful friend on board, Ed Mays, who was a producer for Free Speech TV, and with his own pirate TV show for something like how many years, Ed? 25 years. And he's now traveling with us for a couple months, and he'll be with us when we're in New York too. So he's making a lot of videos, posting them on YouTube, and that's great. We do depend somewhat on our own media. And I'll just finally say a couple of words about our events and media. We have lots of wonderful events. We're meeting lots of wonderful people. But we have to be honest and say that those events are usually relatively small events. I mean, the typical event for us is 20 people. Sometimes we'll have 40, 50 people, but we don't have hundreds of people. And then the Baltimore Sun article that just came out is great. And we hope to see more of that kind of media in the media markets of the Northeast as we travel in the coming weeks and months. But I think we need to work harder on that. So I'm just putting that out there, that getting the word out. I mean, even so in New York City, for example, it'd be really important for us to have an interview on WPFW. No, that's Washington. What's the Pacifica station there? WBAI, yeah.
WBAI, and I have actually an offer for you for John McDonough's program. Unfortunately, it is currently at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning, and you would have to do it then, but he really wants
Helen
you. We'll talk
will be happy to do
later.
that. Helen will be happy to do that. She'll tell me all about it when I get up at 8. So just kidding, kind of. So yeah, any media interviews we'll be happy to. And in the mass media is tough to break through, but it won't happen unless we work at it and try to cultivate folks there. Yeah, we have, we get a fair amount of coverage along the way, but we could get a lot more. Like just in Washington, D.C., for example, we were just there, and the events were small, and there was actually very little media. Was there any media? It's important. I'm just saying it's important for people who are organizing our voyage in New York City. And I know Anthony's been doing a whole lot of stuff, making all kinds of contacts. But go the extra mile to get us an interview. And of course, I imagine we'll get an interview in the Indy, right? In the Independent.
Yeah, I will make that happen. And I misspoke. I meant Ken Gale, his Ecologic show. That's the Saturday 6 a.m.
Okay.
That's fine.
Sorry,
I can do that.
misspoke.
Do you have more to say? Helen?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say that as long as we were in the nation's capital, we took the opportunity to run all over. Did you already say that?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we ran all over the halls of Congress with the Veterans for Peace nuclear posture review. And we talked to, like I said, every office got covered in both the House and the Senate. And we talked to a lot of aides while we were there. Some like Jim McDermott, when we were in the House of Representatives in his office, he's the one that introduced HRES 77, which is about both nuclear disarmament and other measures to help us step back from the brink of nuclear war. There's these 5 principles. And so we were taken aside by his main legislative aide and got a picture with her. And that was me and Anthony and Cindy. And we talked quite a bit about getting a lot more support for that bill, which is, that's the main message that we have as far as legislative actions. So next we need to take these hundreds of business cards, digitize them and start working by email with, to get them on board for HRES 77 and make sure they understand what it is we're working on and that they read that nuclear posture review, which is full spectrum cooperation as opposed to full spectrum dominance of the administration's nuclear posture review.
Our fundraising goes pretty well. We have a very loyal grassroots fundraising base that continues to give money when we ask for it. And of course, we raise money as we go along. Having said that, though, it's important for people organizing events for us to have fundraising as one of the goals, especially in the larger cities where it might be possible to raise more money than others. So, but anyway, we're very pleased with the fundraising situation, and we're a pretty sustainable project. So,
and I'd just like you all to know that this doesn't all fall on Veterans for Peace. We have 8 or 10 different co-sponsors of this trip, like Back from the Brink, Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. There's
Code Pink, Love Will Be on War.
Right. So wherever we go, we try to get those local people involved, and they also do organizing events and fundraising. So just know that this isn't just a Veterans for Peace project.
I don't know about the fundraising part.
They do. Like Will donated $2,500 to us.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
I mean, so, and Greenpeace last year gave us $1,000. We met with Greenpeace. They just switched out their executive director, and so I went to that event and got to say hello to the old executive director whom I met in San Francisco Bay, and say hello to the new one, and just remind them about the start of Greenpeace, which was inspired by the Golden Rule.
Right. So there you got a pretty good picture of what we're up to. If you have any questions about the Cuba trip or about our ongoing voyage or what we're going to be doing in when we get to New York, fire away.
So I know that Anthony Donovan has been passing on the schedule to the New York chapter. We come in May 17th to a wonderful welcome to Chelsea Piers Marina. We've got an event at St. Stephen's Church May 18th. On the 19th, we're sailing up to Newark Bay. And we'll be at Mary House, which is a Catholic worker house that day. And then we'll be at the Liberty State Park on the 20th. On the 21st, we'll participate in a peace walk and a people's forum. On the 23rd, we're going to be at a Friends Meeting House. So it's sponsored by both the Quakers and War Resisters League, which is celebrating their 100th anniversary. And then we'll be in Amalgamated Bank for, they're hosting us for a nice brunch. On the 26th, we'll be in New York City Hall Park and talking to the New York City Council. So, you know, just there's a lot going on and there's a lot that could still happen. We're going to be really busy people.
And then when we leave New York, you know, we're going to be continuing up to New England, and we're going to be going to Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, all the way up to Bath, Maine, above Portland, Maine, and where the Bath ironworks are, and they build warships. So there'll be some kind of protest action up there. But then we're going to come back down, all the way back down to New York City, because we need to go through the Hudson River to the Erie Canal and onto the Great Lakes. We're going to actually be going across to Toronto, Detroit, Milwaukee, Chicago. We might end up this tour in Chicago in October. We haven't decided for sure if we might go farther or how we're going to bring the boat back to the West Coast. Some people say we should sail through the Panama Canal. That would be a whole big adventure. We're more likely to put it on a truck and take it back the way we brought it out. But there'll be a number of events on the Hudson.
Including visiting sailing vessel Clearwater and sailing vessel Woody Guthrie, Pete Seeger's boats. And they're looking forward to hosting us. There'll be a Maritime Museum event there as well.
I don't think we have anything lined up at West Point yet, but, you know, maybe something. And then, so those of you who live along the Hudson and have friends there, let us know. I think we do have Albany, New York is a stop, is one of the stops we'll be making. You can go on our website to look at the entire schedule. That's vfpgoldenrule.org.
Gerry,
By the way,
Thank you.
in Baltimore, we have well, in Washington, we had Vincent Intundi with us on a panel, but in Baltimore, he's going to give a bigger presentation at the Baltimore event. If you're not familiar with Vincent Intundi and his books, African Americans and the Bomb, and then there's another book that he's published more recently, and they both, I think, delve into how African Americans have been much more involved with the anti-nuclear movement historically than we might realize. So that's going to be very interesting.
If you guys want to maybe take that, stop sharing, and
Slide
we can
down.
put Susan up and take some questions for you.
Sure.
There we
Thank
go.
you. Thank you. Do we have questions?
Tom's hand is up.
Yeah, Tom and then Ellen Barfield.
First of all, thank you. Terrific presentation. Really exciting stuff. I've been chatting with Anthony, who is over at the Amalgamated Bank at the moment. Anthony has expressed with me that the May 26th event with city council members, he says that Golden Rule and Move the Money will both be given lots of time. And Carlina Rivera is, I believe, the lead council member who will be greeting the Golden Rule, and she's also the lead sponsor or the initial sponsor of our Move the Money resolution here in New York. So I just wanted to let everybody know about that. That's May 26th, and I believe it'll be in City Hall Park somewhere.
Yes.
And I have a question, a real quick question. Will the different events at the churches, like the Quaker Meeting House, for example, and other locations in New York, all be fundraising opportunities? Thank you.
We don't always have an opportunity to pass the hat because in libraries, for example, you can't do that. In some public spaces, you're not, even some private spaces, you're not allowed to. But anytime we get a chance, we will.
Thank you.
We
Ellen
also
Barth-
sell t-shirts. We have them in black and in blue. Long sleeves and short sleeves. And sweatshirts.
Well, I hope you don't mind a little friendly competition from the Move the Money t-shirts.
We'll trade you.
One of each, right? Ellen
When is-
Barfield, go ahead. Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify the name of Professor Intondi's new book, which is like a month old. It's brand new. Because some of you surely were at what the book is specifically about. It is
Right.
called Saving the World from Nuclear War, the June 12th, 1982 disarmament rally at the UN is not in the title, but you know it was at the UN and beyond. So get the book because you were there. A chunk of you surely were.
I was there.
Thank you, Ellen. Tara, go ahead. We can't hear you.
Sorry. Hostess spotlight. Gerry, I think you're going to send me some brochures that I can use for the event in Brooklyn. There should be a lot of people there. And
Yeah.
also, when you do, yes, can you?
Yes.
Okay, when you do that, can you send me a Golden Rule medium, and I'll pay for it in the black one, because I'll give it to Katie, the Marine.
Okay.
She'll love it.
Okay. All right, great.
Great work you guys are doing. Just
I think, did you send me a
is.
mailing address yet? You might want to send that again.
okay, I will.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for all the support moral support and other support that we've gotten from the VFP chapter and VFP, in New York City and NYC VFP members. Makes a big difference to us, really boosts our morale, and we're really looking forward to hanging out with you. And make sure you don't book us too heavily. We want to hang out and, have a beer in the village, you know what I'm saying? So it's important that we get a little R&R as well.
Bob?
Bob Kovac, go ahead.
Yes, Helen, just to correct one date you had, the May 19th at Mary House is now May 26th, which I know you
Right.
folks are leaving for Port Jefferson, but somehow you're going to be at Mary House at 8 p.m. and then leave after that.
Well, yeah, because we travel in an RV beside the boat, it
Gotcha.
means that we're available as speakers to come to things just before and just after Golden Rule is in a particular place.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that'll be in the minutes anyway. I know originally it was the 19th, but it got changed to the 26th.
Good. And Bob, I think I heard you offered your driveway for us to park the RV, right?
Yes, we did.
We'll probably take you up on that.
Great. Okay.
Terrific.
Well,
And
you've been in our other place before. Yeah.
And
It's a
There's
different place
also-
now?
Well, no, you were in our previous house. We moved here 3 years ago.
Oh, where are you? You're still in Queens?
We're in Queens. We're in Queens Village now. We were in Flushing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Much bigger driveway.
Okay, good.
and the
are
New
you
York
right,
City-
Georgia?
Sorry,
I'm sorry, Georgia has her hand up.
she does.
Yeah, her physical hand.
Oh,
Yeah, I couldn't find the other hand. It didn't work. Listen, I don't know how many people know that Bill Gilson had asked that some of his remains be cast off the Golden Rule. And
Oh,
since it's going to be here in New York, today is Bill's birthday. He would be 86 years old today. And he absolutely loved the Golden Rule. And Tarek told me that Bill had expressed this to him. So at some point, whenever I'm available, whenever you are.
we'd be honored to spread some of Bill's, what a wonderful guy and a wonderful activist. We would be very honored to spread his ashes from the Golden Rule. So we'll make sure that happens with you on board, Georgia.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Any
I
other
just,
questions? Sure,
me,
go ahead. Helen.
I can't raise my hand while I'm doing all the rest. I just wanted to say that New York City Friends of Clearwater also wanted to do a Zoom with you. And I think it was on a Friday night, and I think it was conflicting with another event. But I think that event maybe has moved, the 26th. So I will get with you by email.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Terrific. And Bob has his hand up again.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No, he never took it down.
Oh, thank you. But I think Tarek has his hand up again.
Right, I just
Yeah.
wanted to say, Gerry, you're Irish, correct?
That's right.
Well, John McDonough, I am sure will have you on the show.
Okay.
At 11 o'clock on Sundays. So I'm not
Okay.
sure which
Okay.
Sunday, whether it'll be after the 30th or before, but I think Bob reached out to him, and I also will definitely. And I'm sure he will be delighted to have you on the show and to speak
Okay,
about
great.
Cuba and the whole thing. Okay?
Wonderful. Let's speak
Right.
about Ireland too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I spoke to him about it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Bob is on it.
Terrific. Any other questions? It's all
I just want to
wonderfully
say,
exciting. Yeah.
could I say one last thing about Cuba? So Enya and I came back with the goal of encouraging an official VFP delegation to Cuba sometime in the coming year or so, squeezed in between all of the other fantastic things we're going to be doing this year. So we'll probably be talking about making some kind of proposal to the board in the coming months.
Great idea.
That is great.
And we probably need to start the delegations committee again. And Gerry, I'm sure you'd be willing to work with us on it.
Sure. Yeah, because I know
Thank
that
you.
people want to go to Vietnam, people want to go to China, so we're going to have a lot going on.
Exactly. It's very exciting. Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you all. It's a pleasure and wonderful to have Helen and Gerry with us. Some of you may be aware that this past year was a major struggle within the VFP board to maintain the Golden Rule. And it's just thrilling and exciting that we were so successful. Thank you. And thank you for your hard work and dedication to this project. It's terrific. No other questions? Okay, folks, we'll continue.